from a workplace perspective, it would be difficult to have a holistic approach of saying, this is how we're going to help all of our dyslexic employees, because different people's dyslexia would manifest in a different way. I think it's more about asking people whether or not they want any specific workplace adjustments, and they may not. They might find it embarrassing, in which case I don't think there's any point in kind of forcing that on someone either.
But I think if someone is dyslexic, the manager's job very early on should be to have a real open and honest conversation around it, rather than burying it and sort of just soldiering on, which I think is sort of a very British way to look at things. Just really have that conversation early, and also understand, how does it make that employee feel, their dyslexia, and how can we support as an organisation and as a manager to make them not feel like that and to bring the best out of them.
I think everyone's need is different. So I think it's making that adjustment unique for that individual. And yes, it's got to be commercial. It has to be a reasonable adjustment. We can't be changing everything from a cost perspective, but actually working with the individual to see what works.
My best bit of advice is that if you're dyslexic, you're going to have to work a lot harder than everybody else. And this is something that nobody ever wants to say. Like, people don't like the idea that because they have a learning difficulty or a different way of learning, that it's mean they're going to have to work harder. They feel like it should be somehow things put in place that will enable them to work the same amount and get the same result, and it's just not going to happen. I've had dyslexia since I was born, obviously, but I was diagnosed at the age of 9. And in my mind, like, lots of people are way smarter than me, but nobody will ever outwork me. Like, it won't be for lack of effort. Like, I will outwork anybody. And often I have to, I have to spend more time on my assignments at school. I had to spend more time on my assignments in my A-levels and my degree and my master's, and I had to find out other ways of learning. So I'm sounding, I hope that doesn't sound negative, but I think it's the reality of it.
Well, the first thing is is for everybody to be open. Okay, so I was in a school a while back talking about inclusive education, and one of the parents said, but it's all very well having truly inclusive education, but what happens with the normal kids? And I said, well, all right, everyone in the room, put your hands up if you're normal. And everyone went, good point, We all have our idiosyncrasies. I know one company, for instance, where the boss changed, and the new boss was very open about her mental health problems, and that allowed everybody else to be open about their mental health problems. And the motivation and the atmosphere in that company just rocketed because people were open about it. So the first thing is to be open about it. The second is the kind of language we use about it. So these are just simple things. But we know, and I won't bore you with the studies, but we know that when you use negative language about dyslexia, it makes people perform worse. And when you use positive language, it helps people perform better. We know this.
So historically, there has been a belief that just writing a document and then sharing that with people for them to read, that is the right way for everyone in the organisation to learn. We're now seeing technology that means that almost any document could be translated into audio form directly. You're seeing AI and similar, meaning that text can be very soon created into video. And you will see other ways of people other ways of learning or transforming information into ways of learning that will come from technology.
Yeah, I don't, again, think there's like one tool or one tactic that will particularly solve it. And I'd really encourage people to find out a way of how they like to learn and they find it enjoyable and try and lean into that. For me, it's conversation. For me, it's talking and debating, and actually it's teaching back. I love to teach back. I don't know why. I like to, maybe it's from years and years of being talked to and people getting frustrated. I love to be able to teach in the way that that I like to learn.
I think one of the things about dyslexia, I was just having this conversation with somebody this week, is we're really good at adapting. So quite often we don't realise that what we're using is a strategy or that there is an easier way to do something. One of the things I could not live without is my human proofreader. She is just magic. She just knows exactly where to look for the errors. So for me, it's about having that human support that I can kind of ask questions to. And if I'm honest, I don't really use technology because technology wasn't around when I was at school. And I think I've got really used to adapting and finding other ways around it. I mean, I'm still using a computer that's 15 years old at the moment. I really need to update that. But I think it's knowing what's out there. And for me, this is where social media has been really powerful, because I've been able to work with companies and kind of network with people to find out different things that work. I mean, one of the things that's incredible for uni students is there are AI note-taking apps now, which, you know, that would have been game-changing for me when I was at university. You know, I would definitely be using that if I studied again. So I think it's about knowing where your kind of pinch points are and looking at what technology or what support that you might need. And it could be technology, but actually it could be that you just need to schedule your time better, or it could be that you do just need a weekly touch base with a mentor to help you kind of manage your time and take some tasks away that are perhaps being really time consuming.
I think there's certain tools like Grammarly, which is really easy for people to download and use. Certainly ChatGPT is another one which can help people probably with neurodiversity or dyslexia, certainly if you're in a written form. But yeah, I think employers should just really understand what are the practical limitations of someone's dyslexia. Is it, you know, reading out loud? Is it their spelling? Is it numbers? All of those things, and then design roles around that. So dyslexia is a wide topic and comes in many forms. And I think it's important for employers to understand practically what the limitations will be on that person's work.
Then there are practical things. So let's say you're in a company. The number of directions I get information coming at me from. So I've got WhatsApp groups, I've got emails, I've got intranet, I've got different email accounts, I've got meetings, and actually all of these different things, for those of us with executive function challenges, that's overwhelming. And it makes you shut down. Reduce the number of emails, reduce the number of directions that information comes at people from, and just make things simple. I find for me, if I have one task, I can focus on that task, get it done, and then start the next task. That helps me get things done really well, rather than having 3, 4, 5 different tasks and suddenly freezing, because that's difficult. So help people understand help people simplify their workload.
And I think as a parent, listen to your child and adapt your parenting style to what that child needs. Because we might want them to go to the most academic school in the world and, you know, be the next doctor, but actually that might not be right for your child, whether they're dyslexic or not. Just listen and allow them to flourish as to who they are.
I would really like to see people who have an SEN diagnosis or traits of an SEN diagnosis feeling comfortable enough to disclose those, whether it's to a partner or whether it's to an employer or whether it's even an interview. I think there's a reluctancy and a hesitancy to disclose when an individual has additional needs because they think, I'm going to be a burden, I'm not going to thrive in that setting. So I think it's really important that people are empowered to have the confidence to disclose.
I think it's having the confidence to basically say, I don't understand this, I'm dyslexic, can you please explain it to me again? I think technology has played a massive role, and I think moving forward will play a big role in Jack's life. You know, dictation, reading books, spell check, that whole thing is just going to be invaluable. And Jack is embracing it. He's much better at it than I am now.
I feel that you've got to be open and honest now. And everyone is a lot more accepting, and I just think it's a better place now.
you read on, Facebook or social media, my kid gets A++s on everything and always, so great. And, and you're happy for them. I know there's a hint of like haterade in my tone, but, I think, dealing with stuff like that Imani, might not get A's all the time. And there might be a struggle, but again, it's important to celebrate, what she can do. And, I'm as much as we do fight about her work and everything, like I don't want to spend the next 4 years where she's still at home with us. I don't want to spend those 4 years arguing about every little grade or this or that. So it's just the expectation that, as long as she works hard, does her best, uses the strategies that are put in place for her, and then the rest will take care of itself. And, what will be, will be,
So a lot of dyslexic learners learn with movement. So creating an environment where they're able to move, whether that's a movement break where they go out this classroom and that they come back, that's an easy adjustment to make, because actually keeping them in there, they're just going to start fidgeting more and that makes it more difficult for them to concentrate. Also visuals, we use a lot of visual strategies, and that's something that I speak to parents about at home. So for our younger children, the organisation and the planning that comes with getting ready for school in the morning, so making a visual timetable of all the things that they need to do before they can leave the house for school, for example. Timers in the shower, timers when they're brushing their teeth, because that's the other thing, you can get so distracted on the tasks that you're doing that you almost forget what it is that you're doing. You get carried away doing that one thing and not knowing that there's something to come next.
I've had to make adjustments by asking what words mean a lot, because some people use really big words and I have no idea what they mean at all.
I'd say that I'm very happy that there's dictation, because without that I'd be not writing anything. So I'm very happy about that. Online, I'm happy that there's voice notes. But I would say ways that I would say is I want to carry on asking questions, and if I don't understand something, don't just sit there, actually put my hand up and ask.
When it comes to dyslexia, I think as a society, some people should know that dyslexia isn't a bad thing. It's actually a really good thing that helps most people. And I also think as families, they shouldn't get mad at their kids when they come home with a bad grade and see them studying, doesn't understand why it could. And I also think
that's really important. Sorry to cut you off, Imani, but it's really important, just to kind of, when Imani doesn't get a good grade, it's to sort of, make sure she did study, but just trying to understand that, okay, that's what happened, and we just have to kind of, move on and not dwell on it.
Like I was saying before you cut me off, I think families should be more supportive of when they do know their kids has dyslexia and they do bad. They shouldn't yell that much at them and support them into getting a better grade the next time they have a test.
I would really like to see special educational needs and dyslexia being something that is celebrated. I see in my school all the time the wonderful skills that my pupils have. I see the progress that they make, and I see the glimpses of what wonderful adults they will be when they leave my school. And I wish everybody could see those things. I wish everybody could see those talents that those children have.